All right, so question 6. A cylindrical, part A, a cylindrical water tank has internal diameter 40 centimeters, so diameter 40 centimeters, and a height of 50 centimeters. A cylindrical mug has internal diameter of 8, so diameter of 8, and a height of 10. Part 1, find the volume of the tank in terms of pi. So the tank is a cylinder. You'd have to say that is some of my best artistic work yet, those diagrams. You'd really have to be happy with those. Cylinder then, volume is pi r squared h. So that's the formula I'm going to use in part 1. Volume is pi r squared h. Question says in terms of pi, so you're not going to sub anything in for pi. Okay, your answer is going to be 200 pi, 400 pi, 50 pi. It's going to have pi in it. Okay, so they can tell you to sub in 3.14. They can tell you to sub in 22/7. They can tell you to use the pi button on your calculator, or they can tell you leave it in terms of pi, which means don't sub anything in. So pi multiplied by the diameter is 40, so the radius will be half of 40 is 20 squared, and then multiplied by the height is 50. Now, just be careful, it is the radius which is squared, the height doesn't get squared, it's not both that are squared, okay, just don't, that's all. A couple people make that slip on the in their answers. So you can press pi button on the calculator, and the calculator will do the in terms of pi for you. So pi multiplied by 20 squared multiplied by 50. 20,000 pi is it in terms of pi. Or you could just do the 20 squared multiplied by 50 bit, and there's your 20,000, and then by pi is 20,000 pi. Either way, fine. Part 2 then. This is volume, so even though you're leaving it in terms of pi, you do still need to write it's centimeters, isn't it? Yeah, centimeters cubed for volume at the end. Okay, they can dock a mark for not putting the units in. Part 2 then is volume of the mug. So the mug is also cylindrical, we're told. So it is the cylinder formula again. So volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. It's again in terms of pi, so no need to sub in for pi. So again, they do this where they give us the diameter, but it's the radius that goes into these formulas. They do that all the time in exam questions. So it's not 8 that goes into this formula, it's 4. It's half of the diameter. Multiplied by the height is 10. So that's equal to, if I just do 4 squared by 10, it's 160. So 160 pi centimeters cubed is my answer for part 2. Part 3 then, how many mugs can be filled from a full tank? So how many of these can you fill from this? Just divide this by this. So for part 3, it's 20,000 pi divided by 160 pi. So the pi's there will cancel, so you can just do 20,000 divided by 160, but if you write in the pi's in your sum as well in the calculator, it will take care of it for you. So I'll do 20,000 pi divided by 160 pi 125 times. So how many mugs can be filled? 125 mugs. Alright, and that's your part A done. Part B then, a vitamin capsule is in the shape of a cylinder with hemispherical ends. So a hemisphere is just half a sphere. So it's a bit like the running track question maybe, where you had 2 semicircles at the end. Here you've got 2 half spheres at the end. So it might help in this question to think about putting those together and making a full sphere. I'll see what the question is, or else I can deal with them as a hemisphere here and a hemisphere here. I don't know. The length of the capsule is 20 millimeters and the diameter is 6 millimeters. So just be careful, the 20 there is the entire capsule. So that is the hemisphere, the cylinder, the hemisphere. Okay, so that's not the height of the cylinder, it's the height of the cylinder and the two hemispheres as well. The diameter then is 6. Calculate the volume of the capsule, giving your answer correct to the nearest millimeter cubed. So I need to get the volume of the cylinder in the middle. Okay, so the volume of a cylinder we've used already in this question, it's pi r squared h. And I also need to get the volume of these two hemispheres together. Okay, now the volume of a hemisphere is the volume of a sphere formula multiplied by a half. But seeing as they're dealing with, just imagine they're pushed together and use the volume of a sphere formula. Okay, there's no need to kind of multiply this by a half just to get one of them, because then you'll just end up multiplying it by 2 anyway, because there's 2 hemispheres. So just use the sphere formula and imagine the two of them are pushed together, just forgetting the volume's sake. So volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. And what do I know and what do I need? So radius of my cylinder. What am I told? I'm told the diameter of the shape is 6, so that means the radius of the cylinder must be 3. And the radius of the sphere as well. So there's the radius of the cylinder, and there's the radius of the sphere. So for the sphere of everything, I can go ahead and get the volume now. 4/3 by pi by 3 cubed will give me the volume of the sphere, or the two hemispheres. For the cylinder, I still need to get the height. So I said to you that 20 is not the height of the cylinder. 20 is the entire shape. We're just looking for this bit. So if the radius of the hemisphere is 3, that's also a radius of the hemisphere. So this bit here is 3. And from here down is also a radius of that hemisphere. So that is going to be 3. So for the height of the cylinder, it's the 20. Take away that 3, take away that 3. So it's 14 millimeters. All right, so there's the height of my cylinder. So I have everything I need now to get this answer. All right. This part of the question doesn't tell me. It just says to the nearest millimeter cubed it wants my answer. So I can use whatever value for pi I want. All right, just once I round it to the nearest millimeter cubed. Because I'm rounding it to the nearest millimeter cubed, I'd imagine it doesn't really matter what value of pi I use. They will still give me the same answer once rounded. So I'll probably just press the pi button on the calculator. So the volume of cylinder is pi r squared h. So that's pi by the radius is 3. And then the height is 14. So that's pi by 3 squared by 14. 126 pi. I wanted the nearest millimeter cube, so I don't want in terms of pi, so just press the change button. And it tells me 395.84. Final answer needs to be to the nearest millimeter cubed. For this one, I would go to maybe 1 or 2 decimal places. We'll do our final rounding at the end. So I'm going to say 395.84. Okay, so rounding off too early can throw your answer off a little bit, can make your final answer a little bit too big. So don't do that final bit of rounding they want until the very end. Volume of my sphere then, or my two hemispheres together, is 4/3 pi r cubed. As I said, you could do the hemisphere if you want, multiply this by a half, get your answer, and then just add it on twice or multiply it by 2 to get the two hemispheres, but no need. So 4 over 3 by pi by my radius is 3 cubed. So 4 over 3 multiplied by pi, no, 4 over 3, right arrow to go from under the fraction, multiplied by pi, multiplied by 3 cubed. 36 pi, again, I want it to the nearest millimeter, so 113.1. So 0.9, let's say 0.1. All right. So for the volume of the overall thing, you're going to add them together. 395.84 plus 113.1. 113.1 plus 395.84. 508.94. So rounded to the nearest millimeter cubed is 509 millimeters cubed. All right, so that is that.